Hey guys.
Hey everybody.
So today we are going to discuss booking and canceling gigs. And so when you're a freelancer, you always want to get work. You want to try to find as many concerts or contracting work as possible. But when do you actually do that? And so we're going to talk about booking season. So one, when you're trying to book recitals, concert series, concerto appearances, you don't want to try to book those things 6 months out. It's just not going to work. One, some of these organizations might have a budget that's already been allocated. Two, their season might already be filled. A lot of organizations start filling their season a year in advance, sometimes 2 years in advance.
Yeah, so booking season is typically between like November and March for the following season, okay? And I'm sure many organizations, especially the larger they are, may even plan out their seasons 2 years in advance. But you want to get your name out there, so be looking and thinking, like, who can I partner with? Who is presenting the type of music that I play really well? Who can represent me well? So make your list and then just contact these people, preferably, as we've talked about in other videos, which you can catch the link, is relationships. You want relationships with people so that when you do want to approach them and you partner with them, that you can do that with ease and they know who you are. So make your list and think about booking between November and March before the year you want to actually play.
And when you're booking those, you're going to want to check back on another video when we're going to discuss writing the cold email, especially if you don't have any interaction with this particular presenter. So next is, say we have the gig, but you have to cancel. One, a big no-no in the freelance world is, say you have a gig, and then just a better, more prestigious one comes up, something that probably pays a little bit more money.
It happens.
It does happen, but it's really frowned upon to actually turn down the gig that you already accepted, especially if it was a couple of months in advance. And the thing is, about our field, our music world, it's really small. And so, especially with social media these days, people can find out very easily if you're working somewhere else. And so
yeah, don't post it if you go work another gig and you cancel on somebody. Don't do that. Yeah.
No, doesn't look good. And so there's good reasons. If there's an act of God reason, and like you say, you got sick, then what you want to do is find an adequate sub. Or you want to talk to, if you're playing in an orchestra, you want to talk to either the personnel manager or the principal of a section of an orchestra, and give some leeway and also give an adequate replacement.
Yeah, actually, I was a little story about someone canceling on me. I was presenting a program, and I really like this person. I really respect them as an artist. But they got a better gig. And, at the time, my gig wasn't really paying a lot. So I wasn't mad. I understood why the person needed to do that. But, now I have a little bit a bigger budget for artists. And, I don't feel comfortable hiring the person because it's just principle. If you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. Or at the very least, like Martin's saying, get a sub. And then that wasn't offered for me. So, you have to think like, oh, I don't want to do this gig. It's not paying enough. You have to think like, what will that person be doing in the future? Maybe they're not doing as great or paying what you want to be paid right now. But what if 5 years from now they have a fantastic artist budget and you're just no longer on that list because they don't think they can trust you to be there? So be thinking about that. Another thing we want to talk about, which is not discussed as much, is injuries and health and having to cancel because of those two reasons. So many of you may know in my own personal journey that I suffered from performance injury, and I actually did not play any concerts or piano for 6 years. And that even included, not being able to demonstrate in students' lessons, like the simplest of things like Yankee Doodle or Happy Birthday. So after that period of time, of getting back into things, it's really, I think about it differently when somebody says, oh, I have to, cancel because I have an injury, because that could be really serious. This is my tips. If you're suffering an injury, let's say you've never had an injury and you start to feel something, no matter what your instrument might be, and you're like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to do this gig. tell the person in advance, okay? I've had people who are suffering injuries who are not familiar with injuries and they're so ashamed. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm having an injury. First of all, it's not worth your long-term career to play one gig over an injury. If you're really hurting, you need to go ahead and find that sub and then get well. But two, injuries don't come overnight. So if you have a gig on Saturday and you're feeling sick on Monday, don't tell the person on Friday, okay? You can kind of feel, especially muscular injuries, are usually happening over a few weeks. So you do have to plan your practice time so that you won't get in that situation where you're practicing so much a couple of days before that you suffer an injury. You know, this is poor planning, okay? So really be thinking about those things when you have injuries. One, it's not worth your career. One gig, if the person can't understand, then maybe that's not somebody you need to collaborate with. Is not worth you not being able to play for 5 or 6 years. Not worth it at all.
And you know, some matters occur where they just come out. They're not in your hands. So like for me, with not necessarily injury, I found out like I had to have an emergency eye surgery, and I had we had 2 recitals the following week, like within the following week, and I had to cancel them. And so, luckily, the presenters, they understood, and we were able to, do the concert later on. But it's just nice having like those type of relationships too. Even a few months ago, I had to have another eye surgery, and I was scheduled to do a concerto with an orchestra. But I was able to also give the conductor a replacement, an adequate replacement, and it was great. And I'm able to perform with this orchestra again in the future. And so you definitely don't want to burn bridges just because of health reasons, but there's some things, I mean, it's kind of like the white elephant in the room, but you shouldn't be ashamed to talk about these things either.
Please don't, yeah. And you'll be offering other people so much liberation when you do talk about it. Like, I have an injury, or I've been suffering from an injury for so long, or I have a health issue. And so that you can just get adequate healing. So that's our video about gigs, booking them, and then if you need to get out of them, appropriate responses and how to handle things. So your challenge for the week, do you have a thought for them this week?
Look up some either concert series, or if you want to give some recitals, look up these different venues and start preparing for a year from now.
That is perfect. Go make a list. See you guys next week.